Hello everyone, welcome to the session on polity and governance. So the today's topic of discussion is anti-defection law. Anti-defection law was inserted into the 10th schedule of our constitution by the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So today we'll be studying the detailed provisions of anti-defection law along with the issues related to it. So before studying anti-defection law, it is very important to know what is defection and what is the purpose of anti-defection law. So basically, what is the meaning of defection? The meaning of defection is moving from one party to another party. Say for example, a person who is elected as a MLA or MP from BJP, if he resigns from that party and joins another party during his tenure, he will be called as defected person, and that process is called as defection. So in that case, the anti-defection law will apply. So basically, before anti-defection law, we should know what was the purpose of bringing anti-defection law. In 1970s and 1980s in Indian politics, there was a trend which developed, which brought instability in the governments. What was the trend? The trend was defecting from one party to another party in expectation of any favors or any ministerial posts or money, etc. So this was the trend. People used to fell the governments and used to make their own governments by attracting these people from the existing parties or the parties which are running the government. This was the case in 1970s and 80s. So in 1985, by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, the Rajiv Gandhi government brought Constitutional Amendment Act which gave rise to anti-defection law, which was inserted in the 10th schedule of our constitution. And basically this phenomenon was also coined as Ayaram Gayaram politics. So there is a interesting fact behind this. The person called as Gayalal, who was an MLA from Haryana state, he changed the party 3 parties in a single day. So that was the amount of defection that used to happen in 70s and 80s. So it was very important for the government to bring such a law in order to curb these defections. So 2 clauses were inserted under Article 102 and Article 191. So basically Article 102 and 191 contains the provisions for disqualification of an MLA and an MP. 102 talks about MP disqualification, 191 talks about MLA disqualification. And it is also applicable for MLCs also. Anti-defection law, it is applicable for MLCs also. So this is in brief about anti-defection law, and this was the background for anti-defection law. So now let us see what does it contain and what are the various provisions of anti-defection law. So basically in anti-defection law, the 10th schedule contains what are the conditions for disqualification and who is the presiding or who is the authority who is going to disqualify that person. So according to the law present in the 10th schedule, what it has explained what is the meaning of disqualification, what are the conditions for disqualification under 10th schedule. So basically under 10th schedule, So basically under 10th schedule, there are 2 conditions. If a person voluntarily gives up the membership of a political party, say for example, if a MLA from BJP resigns from the party and joins another party like Congress, he will be treated as defected person and he will come under disqualification under the anti-defection law. And there is also one more condition which satisfies for disqualification under anti-defection law, which means if a person votes or abstains in the house in contrary to the whip of the party, then also he will be treated as disqualified. So here we should understand what is the meaning of whip. The whip is a person who is designated from every political party to carry out the legislative business in the parliament or state legislative assembly. So before every meeting or every voting session for a bill or any policy, the party guides the members in order to voting procedure. If the member violates or goes against the guidance given by the whip, then he will be treated as disqualified. But there is one condition: he will not be disqualified if the party condones his action within 15 days. That is, if the party accepts his action within 15 days, then he will not be subjected to disqualification. Or he must have informed the party prior before the voting procedure. So these conditions, if satisfied, he will not be disqualified. So these are the two cases where the member stands to be disqualified under anti-defection law. And this is about elected members. What about nominated members? Nominated members are also subjected to disqualification, but only after the 6 months of election. If the member joins within 6 months after taking the seat, then he will not be subjected to disqualification. And the case for independent members is, independent members are also subjected to disqualification under anti-defection law right from the moment they take the seat. So this is about the provisions or eligibility or the provisions related to the persons who are subjected to disqualification. And there is one more, some exceptions related to this 10th schedule or the persons. Basically, the exception is the speakers, deputy chairman, chairman of respective legislatures will not be disqualified if they also resign. See, the condition in anti-defection law is if they resign, they will be disqualified, right? But here, even if they resign, they will not be disqualified. Who? The speakers, deputy chairman, etc. Because they are expected to be neutral. They are expected to be party neutral. So since they are expected to be party neutral, they are allowed to resign from the party, and they are later, if they join the original party also, they can take the office without coming under the anti-defection law. So this is an exception given for the presiding officers. And one more exception is the exception given for splits. What do you mean by splits? Basically, splits are nothing but group defections. The group defections, basically, if say number of members in the party is 30 members, if 10 members of the party, more than 10 members of the party decided to defect from that party, then they will not be treated as disqualified, because here split is treated as dissent. Since more than 1/3 of members are considering to come out from the party, then it is treated as a dissent, or they are not agreeing with the principles of the party. So it is not treated as disqualification. Hence, it is an exception under disqualification. And there was an amendment to this provision in 2003. The amendment was, the number which was 1/3 of members, it was increased to 2/3 of members. Say, if there are 30 members in the party, if more than 20 members decided to defect, then only they are exempted from disqualification. So this was the amendment which was brought in 91st amendment, because the problem was the 1/3 members was treated as a very small quantity. That is why it was increased to 2/3 of members. And the question, one more question which arises here is, who decides the defection? basically the presiding officer of any house will decide the defection. For example, the speaker in parliament Lok Sabha, or a speaker in legislative assembly, or a chairman in Rajya Sabha and a chairman in legislative council. So these are the persons who are authorized for deciding the disqualification. Got the point? So this is about exceptions related to disqualification. So now let us see what are the issues related to anti-defection law. See, anti-defection law, basically the first question arises when we look at anti-defection law is whether is it constitutional. Why do you think that it is not constitutional? See here, in Quixote Holon case, a person raised the petition telling that it curbs the individual freedom of the legislator because he has to listen to the words of the party. He is not allowed to take his independent decision. That is why a case was filed in the Supreme Court to declare it as unconstitutional. But the Supreme Court told that anti-defection law is constitutional. Why did Supreme Court tell that? Because Supreme Court told that the freedom provided under anti-defection law or freedom provided under Article 105, freedom of speech, is subjected to reasonable restriction. It is not absolute in nature. And the court also told that stability is more important than individual freedom. Because, see, if the people go on defecting in the name of individual freedom, then the governments will not be stable. So this was a issue raised by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court along with this gave a direction also in order to solve the issues. The Supreme Court told that apply the anti-defection law only in few provisions where the stability of the government will be affected. Say for example, in a simple policy or a simple act bill, the stability of the government will not be affected. So the Supreme Court told that limit the application of anti-defection law only to confidence motion or no confidence motion or the policies on the strength of which party came to power. That is, the policies which are treated as very important for the running of the government and which decide the stability of the government, only in those cases apply the anti-defection law. So this was a suggestion given by the Supreme Court. So hence it proved that anti-defection law is constitutional and it is not also violative of the privileges under Article 105 because the privileges are not absolute in nature, they have reasonable restrictions. The one more question which was raised was, is it violative of the power of judicial review? Because before this case, there was no power for judicial review as the decision was taken by the speaker. The parliamentary functions were not subjected to judicial review. But after this, they told that the judicial review will be applicable, but only after the decision is given by the speaker. Only after the speaker takes the decision, the judicial review doctrine will be applied. So these are some of the solution or some of the guidelines given by the Supreme Court in this case. And before coming into any conclusions, we will have to look at the examples which are given by the other countries or what are the practices followed by the other countries. Anti-defection law provision is present in 23 nations of the Commonwealth, but whereas in UK Parliament there is no anti-defection law. The members of the party are free to vote any of the party according to their wish. Same is the case with the countries like, Same is the case with the countries like USA, Canada and Australia. These countries also do not have anti-defection law. So that is why many political scientists tell that anti-defection law must be removed, or it should be amended as to come to the or to meet the international standards. So this is about ADL or anti-defection law in other countries. Also, let us have a look at the merits of anti-defection law. Anti-defection law, as I already told, it ensures the stability of the government. It prevents the horse trading. What do you mean by horse trading? Purchasing the legislators by giving any favors to them in order to make the governments fall. So this is horse trading. Ensures the loyalty to the party. What is loyalty to the party? It makes the members disciplined to the party rules. Hence, it promotes party discipline. If there is no anti-defection law, then party will not have any hold over the members. It will be a chaos. Got it? And it also removes possible corruption. So this was a case in the merits. These are the merits, some of the merits of anti-defection law. Also, let us have a look at demerits. So some of the demerits of anti-defection law is it compromises the concept of parliamentary democracy. So India is a parliamentary democracy. What do you mean by parliamentary democracy? See, the members, the base of the government is democracy. Basically, democracy means freedom to express one's own feelings and improve their personality. Here, in the name of dissent, it curbs the dissent in the name of stability. See, in order to maintain the stability of governments, they are curbing the individual freedom or the individual opinion of a legislator. That is why it compromises the concept of parliamentary democracy. And even though there is anti-defection law, there are wholesale defections in the name of mergers. In the name of mergers, there are wholesale defections. In a party of 30 members, if 20 members decide to defect, then it is not treated as defection. This is one more problem. Harmful, especially because of internal party democracy. See, in this case, there is no internal party democracy. Any party can remove its member in the name of anti-defection law. Then where is internal party democracy? Where is the voice of the individual member? That is why anti-defection law is criticized by many people. And it also weakens the checks and balances of the different organs of the government. Here, the executive will control the legislature. How? The government can disqualify any member or any member of its party in the name of defection. Hence, the members of legislature does not have any control over the executive, whereas the vice versa is true. Hence, it is weakening the system of checks and balances. There are no time-bound decisions. What are time-bound decisions? The speakers do not have any timeline or the time limit for taking a decision. That is why many governments have misused these provisions, because since a speaker belongs to the ruling government, the government takes decisions or guides the speaker in order to take decisions in the favor of government. So it reduces the parliament to high command diktat. So what do you mean by high command diktat? Whatever high command says, the members should listen it. Then where is the freedom? Where is the freedom, individual freedom? So this is the these are some of the demerits of anti-defection law. And also let us see what are the way ahead in order to deal with anti-defection law. So basically, some of the solution is make the institution of speaker neutral. What do you mean by party neutral speaker? See, basically in the case of UK, in UK, the speaker post is a permanent post. It is a continuous post. Once a person becomes a speaker, he is always a speaker. No one will contest from his constituency for the lifetime. Hence, the speaker post is assured. Hence, he can work independently without any disturbance from the party. So this is the case in UK. So in India also, many people recommend to implement or make the speaker party neutral. And one more recommendation is to decide the matters or give the whip guidelines before or after only internal discussions in the party. What do you mean by internal discussions? See, now what is happening? The whip will give directions. The members should follow the directions of the whip. But what is the recommendation? Conduct internal discussions and take the individual opinions before giving the whip, so that individual opinion also will be taken into consideration. And one more solution is to form tribunals. See, what is the issue? Main issue, the position of speaker is misused by the governments in order to make the favors. But if the power of disqualification it is given to tribunal, then the role of speaker will be reduced. Then tribunals will take the decisions without interference from the government. So that is why many people suggest tribunals as an alternative. And there is one more solution called as concept of free votes, which is present in UK. So in UK, any member is free to vote according to his opinion without any directions of the whip. So hence, in UK, there is no application of anti-defection law. And Dinesh Goswami committee recommended that the power of disqualification under anti-defection law be given to Election Commission of India instead of presiding officer. See, the recommendation tells that it should be decided by President and Governor on the advice of Election Commission of India. See, other disqualifications with respect to election offences, disputes, etc. are in the hands of Election Commission of India. Only one disqualification under anti-defection law is given to speaker. Hence, many people suggest to give it also to the Election Commission of India. NRCWC, National Commission for Review of Working Constitution, in 2000 also recommended that the defectors should be barred from holding the public office. The defectors should be barred from holding the public office in the future. Hence, when the people or legislatures will fear to defect from one party to another party. These are some of the solutions given by the commissions. And what are the recent news related to anti-defection law? See, in the recent case of defection in Manipur, where Congress MLAs defected to another party, a petition was raised in the Supreme Court regarding the defections or the speaker's role in the defection. The Supreme Court held that in order to decide defections, set up an independent permanent tribunal instead of giving it to the hands of speaker, so that the decision will be party neutral. And it also told that the tribunal can be headed by a retired Supreme Court judge or a Chief Justice of High Court or any other member as decided by according to the mechanism to resolve such cases swiftly and impartially. So these are some of the recent news related to anti-defection law. And what is the criticism of this recommendation by Supreme Court? Many people criticize that this recommendation or setting up of tribunal violates the separation of powers principle. How does it violate separation of powers principle? See, tribunal comes under judiciary, whereas the speaker comes under legislature or executive. Here, if the power is shifted from legislature to judiciary, then the power of judiciary rises above the executive. Hence, there is an imbalance in the separation of powers. This is one criticism, and they also tell that it violates the Article 122, which bars the courts from inquiring into the proceedings of the Parliament. Here, anti-defection law is an internal mechanism of Parliament, because here there is no offense, there is no crime which is being done, there is only defection which is happening. Hence, defection should be decided only within the Parliament. It should not go to the tribunal. That is why many people argue that anti-defection proceedings fall under parliamentary proceedings, hence they should not be given in the hands of permanent tribunal. So these are some of the criticisms. See, as I already told, anti-defection law is in news, always in news in some or the other way. That is why you can always expect a question on anti-defection law anytime. So I have tried to explain in brief what are the provisions and issues on way ahead related to anti-defection law. I think this is it about the anti-defection law. Thank you.